First of all, it's a real pleasure and a real honor to be here. And I would like to thank you all for your time. Time, it's always the most precious thing that we have it. So thanks for being here with us. Today we have very special guests here at this stage, and I would like to invite them to come here and to have a very nice conversation with very nice and interesting topics. Please come here first, Ingrid Barth. A round of applause. She's a very experienced entrepreneur, and she does dozens of things, actually. And nowadays, she's the representative and the president of the Brazilian Association of Startups. And please come to the stage also Luiz Fernando Taboada. Please, a round of applause. She's the representative of CIMATEC, and we have been talking about lots of topics about innovation and entrepreneurship, and I'm sure you all would like to understand a little bit more from him what's happening in Brazil. And please, it's a real honor to receive here a Kamarul. Kamarul is a very experienced entrepreneur. Please come with us. Kamarul, she's Ingrid is a star, and I would like to initiate, to start with you this debate, Ingrid, and we are having a conversation about that image that Brazil has nowadays, not only in China, but all over the world, that when you think about Brazil, we think about football, we think about samba, we think about carnival and other things, but our image is not always related with business. And I would like to know, what are you doing to change this perception and to show to the world, to show to China what we are doing now in Brazil in terms of business and particularly in the ecosystem of startups. Please.
Nice. So thank you so much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here for the second time in China in general. I am a startup founder. I used to work in financial marketing in Brazil, and I changed it to the fintech space in 2016, in the very beginning of the fintech trend in Brazil. And in 2018, I founded Linker. Linker is a fintech, a digital bank account for SMB companies. And we sold Linker in 2021 to OMIE, is a huge fintech in Brazil also. And I be part of the OMIE team until 1 month ago. And now I'm ready to building something new. And then between this experience in fintech, sometimes working on a fintech, sometimes founding a fintech, I started to involve me in associations. So first of all, I started as director for the Brazilian Association of Fintech. After that, I was vice president of the Brazilian Association of Startups. And now I'm the president of the Brazilian Association of Startups. And all my relationship with associations is non-profit. I'm doing because someone should do. And then I believe that the environment, the ecosystem should be organized to show to regulators, in special regulators, that we have a lot of good ideas to help the economy and to help the businesses in Brazil in general with innovation, technology, and something like this. And I'm also president of the Startup 20. Startup 20 is the engagement group for startups and SMBs for the G20. And Brazil is responsible for the G20 this year, the president of G20. So I'm having the opportunity to show my country, startups, businesses, innovation to countries around the G20. So it's a very special moment for Brazil to change this mindset about carnival and caipirinhas and football. And this opportunity, especially these opportunities, is showing me, is teaching me a lot about Brazil. Showing me a lot of good opportunities that we have in the country, and we are not we are not in communication. We don't have a good communication about that, about our innovation.
And strategy.
Yeah, there is no strategy for that. But G20, it's a very good platform to do that. And then not only we have a lot of good ideas, innovation, but we have a lot of good founders, people that it's very, very innovative people, very hard workers. And then, for example, especially in this time of the global, the situation of the globe nowadays, Brazil can lead, for example, climate, environment in general.
We have been facing lots of challenges regarding the environment, and
really.
Brazil can play a crucial role to
6% of the
scenario.
Brazil is Amazon. 60% of the Brazil, the country. So there is no other country to solve and lead these topics. So I believe the G20 is a very good platform to that. But we need to also help people in Brazil to learn more about the ecosystem, the startup ecosystem, the innovation ecosystem. So I'm also part of the president's board member. I don't know how it happened.
And afterwards, she's gonna tell us what time do you sleep?
No, I have problem with sleeping. And then what's the importance of that? To show to the government that it can be a new economic metrics for the country, for Brazil. Technology can represent this new opportunity for economy in Brazil. So I believe this convergence of things can help to show to the world and inside Brazil that technology is the future. Brazil is very, very good and prepared for that. We need to communicate that. So.
Okay, thanks, Ingrid. Excellent. So I would like to understand more about you and your work, Luiz Fernando Taboada, the word with you. Because as far as I am concerned, you have been playing a crucial role in Brazilian ecosystem in terms of innovation and entrepreneurship through your work at CIMATEC. Could you explain a little bit more?
For sure, for sure. First, it's a pleasure to be here to share some experience. SENAI CIMATEC, it's a R&D center in Brazil. I'm a little bit different between here because you have a lot of startups, digital startups. And I, at CIMATEC, you are now helping the Brazilian industry to innovate. So you have different kind of projects, R&D projects, with big companies. And our goal is to put new products and processes in the market. And to do that, sometimes you need to attract a foreign company, or sometimes to create industrial startups. So CIMATEC, it's our goal is to help the growth of the industry, Brazilian industry, but also help the maybe balance more the think about the startups. Today, Fernando talk about startup in Brazil, it's more fintech, digital one, and you need to create more hardware ones also. So the CIMATEC is doing this kind of project. You work in a market-driven model. So when the company, the big company, for example, has a challenge, they arrive with the challenge. If you have the competence inside, you do alone the idea, you arrive in a certain level of maturity of the project, and with the company, you do a bid. In this bid, you select the company could industrialize the solution. So the CIMATEC is based in Salvador, Bahia, the northeast of Brazil, and now we are doing special work there with innovation, ecosystem. It's no easy to do this in Brazil, even in Bahia.
It's not easy.
It's not easy. So you are now maybe a game changer in this area in Brazil. I'm really, for example, now has been selected to the Brazilian government to be the national competence center in quantum computing. It's a brand new technology. So you are very proud about that, and I think it's only the beginning. You are 20 years ago, or 20 years old only. So for this kind of institution, we are recently a very recent institution. So so the CIMATEC, the idea is that.
Lots of very interesting things that people might not know from Brazil.
Communication.
Right? Communication. So here we have an entrepreneur that knows quite a few things about Brazil, because he's a pioneer, Kamarul, and he was brave enough to explore Latin America and to do business there. And I would like to know, why have you decided to do so, and what are your main challenges and opportunities that you have been seeing so far?
Well, thanks,
Please.
Sandra, for having me. I'm very excited to share a little bit about our experience as well.
You know, I was very, very impressed when I was reading about your history and about Aerodyne. He's a star.
Thank you. Well, the year was 2018, when we first look at the map where we were operating globally, and we have two regions where we don't have presence. One is Africa, and the other one is Latin America. So I thought, hey, why don't we go to Latin America? Right.
Simple like that.
Samba, carnaval, futebol.
Right. So then, by chance, I was in London at the drone exhibition, and I met a Chilean guy. And he has a PhD in renewable energy, and he just finished his degree, and he wanted to go back to Chile. And I said, hey, and he visited our exhibition, and he loves what we were doing. What we do is really a drone data analytics company. So we use drones, but drone is just means to the end. The real value of what we do is actually on the data side. So we provide industrial solutions. We enable our industry customers to run their operations faster, better, cheaper, and safer. Anyway, to cut a long story short, 2018 we went to Chile. Then COVID happened, which is a little bit strange. But anyway, it has been growing very nice. We also learned a lot about Latin America. And what is exciting for me is that Latam and ASEAN has a lot, and Asia has a lot in common. You know,
Really?
we are global south, right? I mean, we have a lot in common, because we also operate in Northern Europe, in America, and all that.
But
It's very
what
different.
exactly, what do you have in common to explore, please, Kamarul?
I think in terms of culture, there's very good cultural fit. You know, when I was in Chile, I felt that I'm back in Malaysia. And a year and a half ago, we partnered with a company in Brazil. So now they are Aerodyne in Brazil as well. And they are actually the largest drone company in Brazil. They already provide services for Petrobras and all that, right? So when we invest in them, and we bring more technology, and they've been growing after the partnership between us. So that's what we are very excited about. But anyway, back to the question. So when we first, for the very first time, we went to Rio. So for Asian, we always remember from the World Cup, from Olympics and all that, how dangerous. But actually, it's not. It's very, very safe. Just don't go to the favelas, right? But if you go to the normal area, it's actually very, right. It's very, very safe. I don't see any issue. And the culture is the same thing as well. And I see that the cultural fit is there. I think for Asian companies wanting to work with Brazil, we can do this, because it's very, very similar. It's not the same as in Northern Europe. It's not the same as in North America, but the South American and Asia has a lot of things in common. So I love it. So the way, how we've been doing is that we've been integrating our operations, and the company has been growing and growing. And next, we are entering Peru, Colombia, and Argentina as well.
Wow, thanks, excellent. But we know, Ingrid, that he's an exception, and we have a lot of work to do. And back to G20 and your agenda, I would like to explain a little bit more in detail what you have been doing to change the perception of Brazil, please.
Okay. Bom, to talk about, I need to explain a little bit about the Startup 20 and G20 in general, because as I'm learning a lot about that. Startup 20 is the new engagement group for the G20. India last year created the Startup 20 to take a look just to startup ecosystem, because the startup ecosystem representing nowadays 50%, 50% of the GDPR in the G20. So it's a new industry that is representing a lot of money between countries of G20. And then Brazil is nowadays the president of G20, and I am responsible for the Startup 20. And this year, the Startup 20 is responsible also for the SMB companies in general. So startup and SMB companies that represent 61% of the GDPR.
You mean small and medium business, right?
Yes, yes. So it's a very important engagement group. And then the main goal for the Startup 20 is building this relationship between countries related to these topics about the startups, SMB companies, how we can improve businesses, and not only inside the country, the specific country, but between countries in general. So we are talking about, for example, we have 3 task forces in Startup 20. We are talking about, for example, funding, how we can improve funding between countries in G20. The second one is ESG, for sure, but not only governance in ESG, not only gender equality in ESG, but how we can improve some projects that can address some challenges that we are having in the globe nowadays, like environment in general, climate, something like this. And then the last one is about the regulation, because we have a lot of initiatives around the world related regulations. Brazil has a lot of good regulations for innovation. And for example, I know that Europe, they can have AI regulation that can helping us to building our regulation, and we can talk about a lot of types of regulation. So these 3 task forces is addressing all these challenges between the ecosystem in general. And then it's important to talk about ecosystem, because when you talk about the ecosystem, it's not only funding and founders. It's related, for example, big corps, regulators, government, universities. And then
Lots of players, not only 2, as you mentioned it.
yeah, and then when you talk about collaboration, it's important to mean that collaboration can be co-creation. Co-creation.
In which way?
Yeah, it's different than collaboration, because when you talk about collaboration, sometimes it's just businesses between a big company and a startup, VC and a startup, or startup selling something to the country. And co-creation, it's we can take a very special skill for a country, and then with plus a very special skill for another country, we can co-create solutions for some challenges. And then I believe sometimes we forgot that co-creation is more important than collaboration. And co-creation for me, it's the key word for the relationship between Latin America and Asia, mixing the best thing for both areas. So, for example, China is a very good in AI. And Brazil, we are very good, for example, in fintech, and then agri-techs. Why what we can do between this co-creation?
To get the best from one another.
Yeah, creating solutions for challenges together. Not only selling or export or import something ready, something that it's ready to use, for example. So I really wanted to see, for example, and when you talk about ecosystem, we can co-creation with universities, we co-creation with corps, we co-creation with VCs, and then startups also. So ecosystem is more than just a startup and VCs. It's the whole actors that can be part of that.
Everyone involved and to notice their role in the
So for me, the pure collaboration is a co-creation with all actors inside the ecosystem.
Excellent. Very interesting and the original point of view. And by the way, Luiz Fernando Taboada, so you have some experience in co-creation and collaboration. I would like to know a little bit more about how CIMATEC foster and enhance cooperation with Asia partners and the collaboration opportunities in Latin America that you are taking advantage of. Please.
So, SENAI CIMATEC, you act as a bridge sometimes. You connect as a bridge sometimes.
As a bridge.
Yes. You connect who has the challenge with us, with university also. University has the basic research. And also sometimes to industrialize the product or the process, you need to find a right company to put this in the market. In our country, for example, you have developed a AUV, a robot, and even being a Brazilian robot, our part, a single connector, you need to import. So you need to evolve our ecosystem of supply chain, and I think it's an opportunity to attract new companies, mainly from Asia. I think, for example, at CIMATEC, you have several opportunities to industrialize a new product, and I think Asia companies could be there and maybe help us to industrialize these products and enter in the Brazil market, and after also export this product from Brazil to worldwide. So I think you are a lot of opportunity. You need to explore better. And I'm every day at CIMATEC, for example, now we are helping a UK company installing a plant in Bahia to manufacture nodes that those nodes will be stay in the seabed, in the deep water, to collect data, seismic data in the reservoir, to help you understand the production, the exploration of the reservoir. It's a project with Petrobras Shell. So Brazil are a lot of opportunity, but you need to, inside of our ecosystem innovation centers, for example, maybe should think a better strategy to attract, to retain, to develop these companies inside. I think it's that.
Excellent. So, Kamarul, I would like to understand a little bit more about your own experience with the government, with the rules, in Brazil, and how government policies and initiatives in both regions facilitate cross-border collaboration and innovation exchanges between Asia and Latam. And especially, how have you been dealing with that as a leader of Aerodyne? Please.
Well, thanks for the question. Frankly, our experience, again, has been quite smooth. You know, before, of course, Brazil is our number 2. We entered Chile first. So before we enter Chile, we already met the Chilean ambassador in Malaysia. Then we also met the Malaysian ambassador to Chile, also in Malaysia, before we actually entered Chile. And that
so
actually,
you could learn from them.
Yes, correct. So it already facilitated us for a smooth entry. And likewise to Brazil as well. Before we make that investment in Brazil, we already met the Brazilian ambassador in Malaysia, which is also happened to be my neighbor in Malaysia. So having to understand the nuances of every country, the taxation, the nuances, how do you optimize investments and all that, and then that helped a lot. For example, in this case, it helps our partner to get the maximum value. And I like what both of you were talking about co-creation earlier. So we are already doing this co-creation in Brazil already, for example. What we are doing right now is that based on our AI and machine learning system, where we use it for the purpose of using AI to manage a large right-of-way. But in Brazil, we are doing this to look after pipeline management. So we are now co-creating those solutions with our partner as well in Brazil. So I think all of this, in terms of G2G, it has always been very useful. There are some countries where from our side, others said, oh, hold on, don't go to that country yet, kind of thing, right? So that's also the reason why we are in Brazil, we are in Chile, we are in Ecuador, even some countries like Colombia. I mean, on the surface, it sounds a little bit uncertain, right? But once we have relationship at G2G level, they're saying it's worth exploring. So we are also looking at Colombia as well.
I understand. And Ingrid, what do you think that an entrepreneur from other countries, and especially from Asia, have to keep in mind when thinking about doing business in Brazil?
And that founders in Brazil is a very creative, especially, I believe the creativity in Brazil is a key point that we have there. First of all, I believe that we need to improve communication between areas to establish building bridge between platforms. So, for example, I am the president of the Brazilian Association of Startups. Last year, I signed an MOU with technology hub in Shanghai, for example. So why this type of initiatives is so important? Because it's the first step for this bridge to starting the communication, to starting to know about the ecosystems, to know about challenges, opportunities, founders, the profile of founders, of technology, of challenge that each country has. And then the communication, the way that we want to receive this information. It's very important because it's because of that I'm insisting in communication, because sometimes we are saying the same thing with different words. And then to establish this relationship is to try to understand how each country can receive this information or is feeling this information. So like a pitch deck, how we can pitch in China, how can pitch in Brazil is different. It's no problem, but we need to learn about that, to learn how we can deliver the message. So the first thing that we need to pay attention to establish this good collaboration and co-creation is to understand better about the communication and how we can deliver the message, and I believe this can open a lot of doors for us.
Excellent. So it means to translate translation about other culture.
Yeah, because for example, in technology and innovation space, we normally use the same KPIs, the same word just to say the same thing. But sometimes for a country, some KPI is more important than the other. And in the pitch, we are paying attention is another KPI, for example. So how we can do better this communication, how we can show better the opportunity, how we can want you to know, want you to receive these messages. So try to understand this innovation culture to have the best communication.
Understood. So, Luiz Fernando, you mentioned to me earlier that you think that Asian companies can help Brazil to overcome challenges, and you are already experiencing this at CIMATEC, right? And I'd like to know how exactly the Asian companies and can foster collaboration, especially innovation centers like you mentioned, please.
Today, talents, it's a big challenge for everyone. The challenge, there is a hard competition for talent worldwide. You know, every ecosystem should have a very good strategy to training, developing, and retaining talents, qualified professionals, because it's essential. And the global population is aging, and now, for example, the same needs they have in here in Asia, you have in Brazil. And sometimes you can make partnerships to do together, cooperation, because the population now to find a right guy to do a right job is not so easy. And you have maybe a plan to do like competence centers that you can train in the same people in different countries with the same knowledge. And sometimes it's hard because each country has your only strategy, but sometimes you need to join force because talent is a real problem. And if you don't fix that, in the next years, you have a shortage of talents, and maybe many countries, many developed countries, you need to pay more for the guys, and this will maybe generate a crisis, an economic crisis, only to keep your team, your squad. So I think after the pandemic, you felt a little bit about that, and now it is still hot, and I think you need to think a lot about that to solve.
Do you agree, Kamarul? Do you have a take on that, on the talent issue? Yeah,
I mean, talent issue is a global issue. You want to attract the best of talent, you need to put in a lot of hard work, right? But that's the beauty of operating in multiple countries as well, because talent do not need to reside in one country. If you are a global entity, you can actually develop solution that can fit from anywhere, really.
Could you please put your mic closer to your mouth?
You can really.
Okay, please. But could you repeat?
All right. So
thank you.
Talent is always an issue from anywhere you're operating as well. So what I'm experiencing is that the moment you create an ecosystem or a connection of talents from a global perspective, you'll be surprised that there are quite a lot of talents, especially if you build something that people are excited about, talent will come to you. You need to sell about your entity as well, about your company, about what kind of meaningful
purpose.
About purpose, yes, about purpose, about meaningful work that you're doing for humanity, helping food security, for example. People are drawn towards that. But you're right, finding talent is a very, very big issue. But I think solving it by looking at it from a global perspective is perhaps can be a good idea.
But still with you, because you mentioned that you have been lucky, more than the average. So it's lucky, being lucky, it's not be lucky, you know.
Well, Sandra, I have to disagree.
Inspiration, transpiration.
Yeah, I have to disagree. It's not
Please
lucky.
disagree.
Yeah, because I think all of us know entrepreneurship is all about hard work. It's about grit. It's about determination. It's about solving one problem after another. It's about keep going when you make a mistake, right? I mean, for us, we went through that. So I wouldn't say lucky. A lot of it is really about having that grit, that determination to just keep going and try to find a solution. You know, it might take you a week or it might take you 6 months to solve your problem. But I think it's more of that, you know. I mean, sometimes you do get lucky, but most of the time it's really about working very, very hard.
Yes. So, Ingrid, you underlined the necessity, the need of collaboration, co-creation, and your agenda, right? And I would like to know a little bit more about your way to communicate effectively the work that you are doing. What
First-
have you learned so far
Yeah, first
about
of all,
being an effective communicator?
First of all, is not to beginning with the challenge. Everyone has challenge, so keep going and the good things and the things that we are doing good. So, for example, in the last panel, the people talked about that. So, for example, we are the best fintech space in the world. It's very good fintech space. I was part of the Open Finance with the Central Bank of Brazil. It's so stranger to say that as a founder, but I love Central Bank in Brazil because they are very innovative, they are very aggressive on that. So everything that we have in fintech and innovation in financial market in general, it's because our Central Bank is very aggressive on that, and in the positive way. So first of all, we need to communicate what we are doing good. The best thing about Brazil, our natural innovation, vocation, for example, as climate, environment, Amazon, and not only biotechnology, but technology in Amazon, to solve this challenge that the world is having. So to change this mindset about challenge, because sometimes I'm seeing a lot people talking about Brazil, oh, because we have a challenge with that. Oh, no, because we have a challenge with another. Everyone has challenge. Keep your mind in good things that we are doing good, innovation that we are doing good, and challenge we can discuss the second time, the third time. I'll never discuss about that. Let's have a positive agenda.
Go directly to the point and see the positive side of things.
Yeah.
So I think
And
we are
self-confidence.
self-confidence.
Yeah,
Do you think that Brazilians lack?
No, we don't have self-confidence when we're talking about technology and innovation. We always thinking that everything that is coming from outside is best than we have in Brazil. Mm-hmm. And I believe in certain period of the time, it was real. Mm-hmm. But nowadays, especially innovation space, startups, the ecosystem in general is not it's not the reality nowadays. So we need to improve our self-confidence and talking about good things, talk the ideas that we are having, the good things that we are doing in the same way, in the same stage of anyone in the world.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. So Taboada and Kamarul, please. I think we are running out of time, and I'd like to conclude with certain remarks regarding your perceptions about what it means to do business in Brazil. You know, what kind of advice would you do to an entrepreneur and business people from Asia. They are dreaming about doing business in Brazil. What do they have to keep in mind, please?
I think the main advice for Asia company to arrive in Brazil is to find the right partner. You need to a local partner, because do alone alone the land in Brazil is no easy, because you are our features inside. So you need to find the right partner is the key of the operation.
So not to go alone and to try to find a partner, it's essential.
Yeah, and I think in our side, you need to find this kind of company to help them to arrive, because it's good for the both sides. It's a win-win. It's a relation win-win. So you need to help them, because you need this kind of company, technological company, to solve some bottleneck that you have in Brazil.
Thank you. Do you agree with that, Kamarul?
Yeah,
Not go alone and
Yeah.
find the right partner. Which more?
Absolutely. You can't go alone. In any country even, you need to have a local partner. If I were to just add a little bit from what Fernando said, it's really to also understand the country factor, because country works very differently as well. Culture, tax. Tax in Brazil is very exciting, right? So
But the question of $1 million, it's how to do it, how to find this ideal partner.
Yeah. Well,
But you can have help with some tax firm, no problem at all.
oh yeah. I know. Well,
You then can speak in English.
Yeah, actually, our partner guide us on how to manage tax for them and for us as well, right? So anyway, I think it's really about understanding the nuances of every country. I think whether it's Brazil, whether it's Peru or Paraguay or Germany, I think they're all the same. We need to understand all of these things, which is very, very... And even people, what makes people happy? Different countries would have different requirements. In Brazil, they want to surf in the morning first, at least in Rio. You have to give them time to go surfing in the morning. Jokingly, but really, every country would have their own nuances. So you need to provide that as well.
Excellent. So to conclude, please, I would like to know from each one of you, in a very few words, what's your take about doing business in China, and what have you been learning here in this event? What was your main thing that really impressed you here in Macau?
I believe the
Main
culture,
lessons.
people, is totally different than I had in mind a couple years ago. That we are very similar populations, sometimes very similar challenges, and very similar opportunities. And then I believe the BRICS will be the future, and we will run the world, so we need to be together to do that together and be confident.
Okay, being confident. Always. Taboada, please.
I think the major experience here is to see that public policies has a very important role. So when you see that, it's not only an individual initiative. It's come from a group, a public policy, and I think here in Brazil you have a lot. You need to learn a lot with that.
So it was a kind of inspiration for you,
For sure.
for sure, to see how public policies work here. Excellent. Kamarul, please.
Yeah, I will just take on a little bit from that as well, because I think one of the big thing about China is the mayor economy, and the ecosystem that they have over here. It's really amazing. I've not seen anything like this anywhere else in the world but China. The way how they are really focused on creating ecosystem. I have a partner in China, for example, that they have a building, maybe half of this hall, for free for 5 years. I'm not kidding. That kind of doing the right decision creates the right ecosystem and companies can thrive. I think that's what we can learn with China.
So how you want that companies can thrive. So thank you very, very much for your words, for your insights, and a round of applause for our guests, please. Thank you.